Will rate hikes crash housing? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we have another article coming out of, Yahoo Finance this time about another rate hike from one of the big four banks. Westpac have increased their fixed rate for mortgages. The 4 and 5 years? We'll have a look at that article in a moment. Now, but here's the thing. There are people out there who want to see a correction in the housing market. They want housing to, essentially be affordable for a normal person. I don't know if that's going to happen. They're hoping for a correction. They're hoping for a crash. We were looking at articles and news that was coming out about a year ago now, or a year and a half ago now, where there was modeling from the banks. The banks were warning of a 10% correction, a 15% correction. Even the RBA was modeling a potential 40% correction. We've had our first recession in 28 years. We've got a global pandemic that's forcing our politicians to lock down parts of the country. And there's a big debate over when the economy will go back to normal, when things will open up. Even if it does open up in Australia, you still have international tourism, which is pretty much non-existent, international students which aren't arriving. Now, with all of this that's been happening, what's happened to housing? Well, it's been going up. It hasn't been falling. We haven't seen a big crash. Unemployment has gone down. Sure, the government has just thrown more and more money at the economy. But what we're seeing here is, they're using housing as their piñata to stimulate the economy. The question is, will rate hikes, will they actually crash the housing prices? And if there is a risk of that, will the government step in to intervene? So we'll start by having a look at this article, everyone. So Westpac Bank hikes rates and makes a record move, guys. This is written by Lucy Dean. So it's a record move and it's a rate hike. Now, oh boy, we should all be worried. The rate hikes are coming. Westpac has hiked its 4 and 5 year fixed rates by 0.3%, while slicing 0.2% off its variable rate. So now the fixed ones have increased, 4 and 5 years, and the variable they've actually taken it down by 0.2. The decision to cut its basic variable rate for both investors and owner-occupiers means Westpac now has a 2-year variable rate of 1.99%, making it the first major bank to offer a sub-2% variable rate. So they've brought the variable rates down. However, this is only an introductory rate, with the interest rate reverting to 2.49% after the 2-year period. Now, if we have a look here, we can see I'll bring up the cash rate. Now, the cash rate is sitting at 0.1%. There's some discussion of it potentially going negative. Philip Lowe isn't a fan of negative interest rates. He hasn't ruled them out entirely, but he says they're highly unlikely. And, I'm not a fan of them either, just from the perspective of business people. We had one viewer reach out to me from Europe who has to pay a cost for absolutely nothing, only having his money sitting in the bank because he needs it to cash flow his business. That's normal. When you run a business, you want to have some decent cash reserves there, and so that just turns into another cost. The average consumer, they save more because they're worried about losing money, so it doesn't have the effect. It's not pushing the money out there. Now, if we have a look here at property, let's look at 2 charts. Now, this is showing you, this is from, I'll just reload the page, SQM. This is showing you the weekly asking property prices nationally. Notice how there's been a little tip down there, okay? We're down from 1.1 million down to only 1.75. Okay, so it is a decrease. It is a decrease. Have we seen a top? And a lot of this is because of everyone's favorite city, the de facto capital of Australia, which is Sydney. And we can see the sharp fall there in property. Okay, so we're starting to see property trim off a little bit, at least in Sydney, and that's flowing through to other parts of Australia. Will an increase in rate rises, though, drive property down? As people are hoping. Well, there's a few reasons why. Number one, we're talking tiny rates. Okay, you're talking 1.99%. You're talking 2.5%. You're not talking much. Rates are so low now. It is so cheap to borrow so much money. It's going to be, several rate rises before it actually starts impacting a lot of borrowers. And well, there's a reason. We know this because for a few things. The number of houses in negative equity, they're falling. They look at that, 1%. We're back at 2015 levels pretty much. We can have here housing loan prepayments. I was talking in my other video how I was doing, micro little prepayments on the mortgage, $5 here, $10 here, and people were laughing at me. Oh yeah, you do that, and you the cost of a house goes up 20 grand. It doesn't matter when you're in it. The idea is to just chip away, and then all of a sudden, look at this. You're how long? What are we talking? Months ahead on your prepayments? 20 months ahead, 2 years ahead, nearly. And we can see this across all owner occupiers and investors. We can look at housing liquidity buffers, indebted homeowners 4 months ahead. Renters are even 2 months ahead, or their liquidity buffers for their median expenses. Outright homeowners, nearly a year of buffer that they have. So we've got to remember, when we consume the media, when we see the stuff coming out of the ABC, all of these stories of like professionals who are so thankful for the mortgage holiday, are they a typical average example, or are they the minority that are just terrible with managing their money? I don't know how two professionals, well, no, I do know how exactly. Two professionals, just life gets too busy, you don't have it under control, and all of a sudden, everything falls apart, there's a little bump in the road, and you're in trouble. You're depending on that mortgage holiday. And then so here, this is why any hope or wish that we'll see a significant correction in property, a housing crash because of interest rates skyrocketing to the moon. I don't know, guys. I don't know. And then we also have, government intervention. You've got programs like Home Builder here. I keep joking about Mortgage Keeper. You've got the building approvals that shot up because of the government intervention to stimulate the economy. And now this isn't about providing social housing. I don't think social housing is the goal of a civilization. We should have a market that's so powerful and effective and creates so many opportunities for our citizens that we don't even need to bother with social housing. That can be done by charities. Maybe that's just a bit of a dream. But anyway, back to this. So Westpac is looking for a bigger slice of the refinancing pie, which hit a record of more than $16 billion in the month of June, according to the latest ABS figures, ratecity.com.au research director Sally Tyndall said. Westpac is the first Big Four bank to offer a variable home loan rate starting with a 1. And while the discount is only for the first 2 years, it reverts to a rate that is still lower than its Big Four bank competitors. And I've had viewers reach out to me and share stories of how they got like $4,000 payments to shift banks. And then a month later went back to another bank to get another deal, working the system. I would get in the habit of every month or every quarter ringing up the bank and saying, I want reduced mortgage rates. Just do it. Sit there while you're doing some work, put yourself on hold. So, if you save $50 a month, you save $50 a month. If it's even a tiny little bit to keep you happy, hey, doesn't cost you anything as long as you can work while you do it. She said customers are seeing more cuts to variable rates generally because it's one of the few areas where banks can still reduce rates. The variable rate cut from Westpac is reserved for new customers. However, that shouldn't stop existing customers from picking up the phone and asking for lower rates. She said, yeah, exactly. If you're with Westpac, just ring them up and say, I want cheaper money. You guys get it for nothing from the RBA pretty much. Come on. It's free. It's just numbers on the screen. What are you talking about? So these are the rate changes. Notice how the headline is about a hike. But that's 4 to 5 year mortgages. And everything else is talking about this rate cut. The interest rate changes also apply to St. George and Bank of Melbourne. Interest rates for owner-occupiers paying principal and interest loans with 60% loan to value ratios. Now here's an interesting thing. You've got to remember. You know how we have this bank guarantee, government-backed guarantee of $250,000. Now, if you have $250,000 in Westpac, $250,000 in St. George, and $250,000 in Bank of Melbourne, and something crazy happens and the bank gets in trouble, you're only covered for the $250,000 in all three of them. My understanding is you need to be in completely separate organizations. But it's probably smart to separate your business and personal banking anyway. However, even with these most recent rate cuts, Westpac doesn't have the cheapest rate on the market. Reduced home loans has the lowest variable rate of 1.77%, while the Greater Bank offers the lowest fixed rate of 1.69 for a one-year rate. So, I mean, there you go. So everyone, will rate hikes crash housing? What's the solution and takeaway? Let's jump on the soapbox. So here's the thing. I don't think we're going to see, there's not going to be any drastic, huge rate hikes that's going to affect the market, everyone. It's going to have more to do with confidence, and the government is going to intervene and the Reserve Bank is going to intervene. I think we've seen that. A lot of the fear articles, the predictions from the RBA that were coming out last year, I suspect that was done with intention to, well, give backing and support or influence our politicians to stimulate the economy as much as they did. You know, maybe the banks were working in cahoots with the Reserve Bank or providing fodder to support the Reserve Bank with their calls for more fiscal stimulus. What do you reckon? What do you think, everyone? Do you think sharp interest rate rise will affect, crash the housing market, or are people, their buffers just too high? And the government's seen that they'll intervene in them, or we've seen and they've shown us that they'll intervene in the market again and again. Is this just people hoping out of desperation that they can see no other way of getting into housing? And, well, what does that bode for the future of Australia? How do we address that? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions on that one in the comments down below. I would say the solution is, well, for the government, needs to help make housing cheaper, and in a way that's reducing a lot of the taxes, overheads, costs, and charges with housing. Maybe they should make building materials GST-free. Why not? What do you think about that one, everyone? Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. Use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.